And we are live. I'm Rick Walker with the SST Car Show on the Auto 360 Network, presented by the Ottawa Gatineau International Auto Show. Tonight, our special guest is Aggie Pinter, the owner of one of the world's finest Knight Rider tribute cars.
You're watching the Autos 360 Network.
The childhood dream for Aggie Pinter to one day eventually own one of the most famous movie cars in the world, the Knight Rider car. And she made it happen. And joining us now is Aggie Pinter.
Hello.
Aggie, hello. Maybe just scooch over a little bit, get yourself centered up in the middle of the screen if you can. You just off to the center a little bit. There we go.
There we go.
Yeah. So Aggie joined us at the Ottawa Gatineau International Auto Show a few years ago. We were just talking about how long ago that was. And she brought her Knight Rider car with her. How long ago was that, Aggie? Was that
16, 17, 18, I don't know, but I still remember it was one of the best shows that I've been to so far.
Yeah, well, we have a great venue there, thanks to Peter Ginsberg, the person who puts on the show every year at the Shaw Center in downtown Ottawa. And just before we show people what the car looks like, maybe you can explain to everybody what this car always meant to you, because it was sort of a childhood dream of yours to own a Knight Rider car.
Yeah, so back in Hungary, where I grew up, I was 5 years old, plus minus, when I watched the show religiously. And I was fascinated by the car always, the way it could talk and drive itself. And it was like a wonder on wheels back then. Basically, it was the base of the modern cars today, right? That's what they are going to achieve. And it was fascinating to me. And I just loved the shape of the car, how slick it was. And it was just always shiny. And I just loved it. And I said to my parents that when I grew up, one day I'm going to own Kitt. And they were like, yeah, okay. So I moved to Canada a few years later just to watch the show in English, and also to learn English, because in Hungary it wasn't too advanced the way they taught English, and I always loved the language. So I moved here and I fell in love in Canada and all the multicultural cities here. And 2 years later, I bought the base car from the original owner. It was a white, rusty Firebird that I found online, and I brought it home a few days later. And that's when everything started.
Yeah, so it took you quite a while to restore it. It was a labor of love for you, right?
Yes, so it wasn't easy in Canada all by myself to make a living and restore a car. So every time I had a little money saved up, I bought parts. And when I had almost everything, then slowly but surely the whole car got restored into Kitt. And I built it with a friend. It got rebuilt in a fiberglass shop in Richmond Hill, Ontario. And all the parts were hand built in the shop.
Hand built. So let's just take a minute. I have a little bit of a montage, a little bit of video, so people can see what the car looks like. And I have to tell everybody that it doesn't look like this right now because Aggie was in a little bit of a mishap. There was a collision and the car was severely damaged. And we're going to talk about that when we come back after looking at this video of what the car looked like back in, 2017, 2018. I can't remember what year it was you were in Ottawa at the auto show, but this is what Kitt looked like back then.
brought me back good memories from that show.
Yeah. Well, that car is so good. I mean, it looks like the real thing. It really does.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's awesome.
We tried to put it together as close as possible. Of course, some of the parts you cannot get anymore are different. I changed it to my own style a little bit, like the seat cover material. It's not the original one, but I tried.
Yeah.
And to me, it looks like a good
I can
ride.
tell you that, in the years I've been doing this car show stuff, I've seen many, many Knight Rider cars, including originals,
Mhm.
and yours is awesome. It
Thank
really
you so
is.
much.
It's so good. But something terrible happened. Tell me
Yes.
about the accident, because that's tragic.
September of 2020, 9 months ago, a person went grocery shopping and I was right behind him. We both were turning right at the light and he decided to go straight instead of right and full force back into the front of Kitt. So the whole front bumper got damaged, broken, and everything shifted over. So right now the car is at a collision shop where, yes, exactly. Right now the car is at a collision shop where they are fixing the whole front end, straightening out everything. And I got a brand new front bumper from the Netherlands. They are refinishing that as well and matching it up perfectly to the car. And the whole car will get a brand new paint job. Hopefully it's going to be done by August, September. And then I am planning to upgrade all the electrical inside to make sure that everything is still safe and the engine get it checked over, everything. And hopefully then everything will be back to normal or even better than what it used to be before. That's my hope.
Yeah, that's one of the cool things about you and Kitt is that you actually drive the car. You use it.
Yes. Unless, like, when we took it to Ottawa from Toronto, it got trailered, but I try to drive it everywhere. It's never like I don't own a trailer. It never goes in a trailer when I take it to the shows anywhere, unless it's really far.
Yeah, well, in March as well, the weather is unpredictable. It's snowing. Yeah. You don't want to subject it to
of course,
all the salt and all the bad conditions.
So all summer, whenever it's not raining too much, whenever there's no hail, the weather nowadays is unpredictable. And other than when the weather is good, the car is out driving. It's not a trailer queen by any means.
Yeah. So how much other damage was there to the car? Was there frame damage? Was there
both fenders got damaged? So they are they are straightening out both fenders and the front. But inside, thank God, nothing major happened. That's what I was afraid of. So the scanner light in the front got bent here and there everywhere. So they straightened it out. So that's it. Thank God nobody got injured. Nothing bigger happened. So
yeah. And I mean, tell me about the emotional impact that it had for you, because this is, I mean, it's not just a car. It's your childhood dream. It's an extension of you.
It's actually very interesting because since I bought the car, I was terrified that nothing can ever happen to it. It was on fire a couple of times, electrical fires because it's an old car, right? Anything can happen. It was on fire a couple of times, and every time I thought I would lose it, and I didn't, so I was really happy. But now when this happened, for 1 second, I thought that, okay, that's it. I don't know what I'm going to do, but it has to get fixed. It's my dream car. Somehow, anyhow, it has to be brought back to life. And from that moment, when I decided that, I was the calmest person ever. The poor person who backed up into me, he was so nervous, and I tried to calm him that it's okay. It will get fixed. We both have insurance. Don't worry. They are going to fix it. I forgive you. It's not something that, accidents happen. I'm not mad. It happens. There's nothing we can do. So, yeah.
But this is a car as well. I mean, you didn't just buy this car. You actually did a lot of the work to restore it and turn it into
Yes.
Kitt, right? So
Yes.
you have your own blood, sweat, and tears into
Yeah. Oh,
this.
yes. Yes. So basically, the person who rebuilt the car for me, he worked a lot and a lot and a lot on it, but then also he showed me how to do it by myself, like sanding, and I did all the sandblasting on the bottom of the car. So the car was lifted up all the way with a forklift, and I was under the car for 4 days sandblasting. I had, I think, 4 or 5 layers of clothing, and still I got sand everywhere. It was a nightmare, but it was well worth it. So
You know,
yeah,
I did some sandblasting under I have a Nissan 300 CX.
yeah.
I did the same thing, and a guy walked up the driveway, and I crawled out from underneath the car, and I was just covered in black everything because
Yeah.
this blasting matter was black, and I didn't know why he was looking at me like I was crazy, right? But I went and looked in a mirror after, and it was like, oh, now I understand why he thought I was nuts.
Yeah, I tried it with walnut shells. That didn't work. So I had to go for straight sand, and I
Yeah.
had to filter it through. I remember, oh, it was a nightmare.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. A lot of
But
work.
it's worth it because I can say that I worked on it. I didn't just buy it the way it is. Like, I didn't just bring it home from the dealership.
Mhm.
I worked on it a lot. And I
Yeah.
scraped off. When I bought it from the original owner, it had so much dirt on it on the inside because it was his baby, but the last 3-4 years he parked it on grass. He didn't care about it, and it was full of everything you can imagine. So that took me about 2 weeks to clean up the whole hood and the engine and everything, and then everything came out of the car and everything brand new went in. So it was about 3.5 years of hard work.
Yeah, it's so much time. People
Yeah.
who've never gone through the process
Yeah.
really can't fully appreciate the
Yeah.
labor and the time that goes in.
But on purpose, I didn't really take apart the car until I had most of the parts that need to go in there, because this way it was a little bit easier, and I knew that there is a light at the end of the tunnel somewhere. So yeah.
So
It was fun.
where do you get all the parts to make a Night Rider car?
They are different companies. Like I mentioned, the front bumper I got from the Netherlands. They're in the United States. I think somebody's in Canada too who is building the parts. Netherlands, like basically all over the world. Italy, and then you just basically find all the websites and you pick the best parts that you like, and you can mix and match whichever you would like.
And are there copyright issues, or with any of the companies that are making these parts, or
They always, I think they always change a little bit from the original one, so it's not really an exact replica. Like, it's not a copy from the original one, and I believe that they probably got some. I don't know if they got permission from Universal Studios, but I never had any issues.
Yeah, and I mean, you're
with
always
anybody.
presenting it as
And
sort of as a tribute car.
of course,
right?
yes. And I did a couple of shows with David Hasselhoff himself, and he absolutely loved the car too. And he said whenever he comes to Canada, he would like to borrow it. I'm like, here are the keys, you take it.
Well, we saw in
if
the
not
video
you,
that
who is the ultimate driver for the car. So
yeah, and in the video you see that he autographed the car for you, so that was a big deal,
yes.
right?
Yeah, that was another memory that I will cherish forever. Yeah.
And tell us about meeting him.
The first time I met him in 2013, I believe, at the Toronto Auto Show, I believe. I can't remember which one. I go to way too many shows. And I just remember that he walked in the room, and I kind of felt like halfway that, wow, he's really here. The other half of me was like, yeah, I grew up with him. I felt like I know him. So it was very nice. And then at that time, I didn't have my car done yet. So it was my friend's car at the show. So I just kind of guarded him to make sure that nobody runs there, and, like a body security guard. Yeah.
Right.
It was nice. And then I met him a couple other times too. Whenever he came to Canada, I tried to meet him. And I think maybe he would recognize me or my car now. I don't know, but I just built the car for my dream to have the car, like my childhood dream, and I'm just happy that it worked out and everything.
Well, those Trans Ams from that era, I remember when they came out, they looked so futuristic. The design was so far ahead of its time. It just blew me away. I fell in love with those Trans Ams, Firebirds as well. Just gorgeous lines, and they've really stood the test of time.
Yeah.
I don't know if kids today can appreciate them for what they were, but I think they still stand up. And as a Kitt car, right, as a Night Rider car,
it's different. It's a different level. That's why when I take the car to the car shows, you know how you can always win the prizes, and I always ask them not to give me anything because it's a different car. Like it does something. It's it has all the lights. Like I don't want anybody to feel like, oh, show off, ladies here, right? I just tell them that I brought the car for people to enjoy it, take pictures, and that's it. That's for me, half the happiness is to own the car, but the other half is to see people with the same memories of the show. Everybody has that same smile, the same glow when they see the car. And I usually let people take pictures with the car if they want. Some people bring me like really old Polaroid camera pictures that this was me when I was 5 years old or 3 years old at the wheel of the tour car. Do you mind if I take a picture of it, Kitt? And I said, sure, go ahead. Open the door and sit in, enjoy. So that's the fun part for me, to bring out the same love in the people.
The steering wheel in that is, it's not a regular steering wheel. It's not a circle.
Yes.
What's it like to drive?
It's actually very easy. Lots of people ask me the same questions. How does it stay in there? It's made, the original steering wheel's frame is in the steering wheel, and it's the fiberglass body is built around it. And when you drive it, it's really easy. It's just like 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock. And when you turn, it's palm, because otherwise you would be looking for the other side of the steering wheel all the time. So it's actually really easy. It took me maybe 5 minutes to get used to it.
Well, when I think of, Formula One cars, that they don't have a round steering wheel.
Yes.
Right. And you're supposed to put your hands on the sides.
And it has power steering, so it's easy. You just move it a little bit and it turns already. So yeah.
Tell us about the drivetrain, because you originally had a 305 in it, and then you went to a 5.7 liter 350.
Yes, so it had a 305 carbureted motor in there, and there was something wrong with the carburetor. I don't know how long I was learning how to pump it and start it. It wouldn't start. I said, I don't want this. Like, no, there's no way. And then the person who built the car, he had an old Caprice in his yard that had this 350 engine. And he said, well, if you want, we can put that in, but then we have to change all the wiring and everything. And I said, well, I don't know if I want to do that, right? But easier just to get a carburetor revert. And then we fixed the floor of the car, and they welded the new steel in there, and the whole car caught in fire, the inside, the dashboard, the insulation behind the dashboard. So that was the first fire when I thought that, okay, that was it. I didn't even have a black Firebird yet, just the white one that's rusty, and it's all gone already. So that's when the whole dashboard, everything got ripped out of it. And he said, okay, now you're going fuel injected. This was the turning point. So that's when everything came out, even the last screw of the car. I remember I stood in front of the frame and I lifted up the frame with my bare hands. That's how light the whole car got. It was interesting experience. And then everything, screw by screw, got cleaned up and sprayed black, and everything went in. Since then, I didn't really touch the engine bay area, mainly because the person who built the car, he closed the shop. So I am basically on my own, and I'm not a mechanic, so I'm actually terrified to break something on it. But slowly, I'm learning how everything works, and it's still alive. Well, it will be once it's back from the body shop. and then everything will get cleaned up and restored.
So will it be back on the road in time for you to enjoy it this season?
I really hope so. They said a week ago I talked to them, they said about 2 weeks. So hopefully by August.
Mhm.
Hopefully. I'm hoping.
Right.
Yeah. So it's coming. It has been a very long time parked in the underground the whole winter. When every time I went there, I said, sorry, Kitt, you will be restored. I don't know when, but you will be. So now I'm happy that it's there at the body shop and they are working on it.
And for you, I'm sure it's a very emotional process.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And it's nerve-wracking. So
Does the car have a personality?
oh, it does, definitely.
Yeah.
It was so funny because I used to have a red Pontiac G5. I sold the car since then, but every time I don't have the car here where I live in the building. It's at another building. Every time I drove my red car to the building, either Kitt or the red car right after had something break down because I drove the other car and not this one. So it has, like, I cannot talk in Kitt about my other car because something is going to happen. It's so creepy. I don't know why. It sounds insane, but every time I said something about another car, something happened to it. So I'm not going to talk about anything, just about Kitt. But yes, it definitely has a personality. It's super fast when it wants to be, but it's also a really sleek, like, rumbling car at the car shows. And I love that it's not overly loud and not super quiet. It's just perfect. I really enjoy the sound. Like, it's the original what you hear in the show in the background. Yeah.
And the silver lining in all of this, I guess, is that you do get to put a great paint job on the car in the end, and it's an opportunity really to elevate the quality of the build even more.
The build, yes, exactly. And that's why after I get it back from the body shop, I will take it to get the engine cleaned up, everything to have it, to give it the car a facelift, basically.
What was it about that television show, Knight Rider, that appealed to you as a teenager or a younger person?
That's interesting because when I was little, I watched it religiously. And then for a while, like when I went to high school, I forgot about it. Until in Hungary, I saw one Firebird parked on the street, which is very rare. That was the first one I ever saw in my life. And that's when the whole dream came back that, oh my God, Kitt. It was blue and silver on the bottom, but for me, it didn't matter. It was Kitt. That's the very first one that I saw. And I said, okay, that's it. Now I'm doing my dream. And then I moved to Canada to learn English. And here I saw Firebirds always, like, I don't know, 5, 6 in a week. And I was super excited that, oh my God, it's actually a reachable dream. And then I started looking through the internet and I found this car. It said all original kilometers, all original engine, original owner, original paint, everything. And it had all the T-roofs and the correct hood. It had everything. So I said, okay, that's it. That's my car. I went to look at it and the owner looked at me and he said, well, as a first car, I don't know if it's a good one because it's really rusty underneath. I don't know if you can take the financial, side of it to restore the car. And I said, if it has to sit for 10 years, then it's sitting for 10 years, but I'm going to build it, my dream. I'm going to restore it. But I actually didn't tell him what I want to make out of it. So when the car got done in 2014, I actually called him and I said, the car is restored. That was 5 years after I bought the car. I said, the car is restored. Would you like to see it? And he said, oh my God, he's still alive? He thought it went to the wrecking yard a long time ago. And I said, no, I still have it, but it doesn't look anything like it did before. So I drove it there. It was all shiny black and the scanner light was on and it was talking and playing the music. His jaw dropped. He said, is this really my car? I said, yes, it is. It looks a little bit different. It's, not one thing is the same as it was before, but hey, it's your car. Here's the VIN number. Here's everything. That's it.
Now that scanner light on the front,
Mm-hmm.
that's sort of similar to, and it's linked to the scanner thing on the Cylon
Yes, that's what they
thing
based it
on
on.
Battlestar
Yes.
Galactica, right?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes, that's what they based it on.
Isn't the sound even the same?
I think so. Yeah.
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 And your car is full of sound effects.
It's full, yes. I would like to there are some buttons beside the steering wheel where turbo boost is. I would like to put a soundboard in there too. I don't have that one yet. So I'm going to tweak those buttons a little bit. But yeah, the scanner, I have a speaker on the front of the car so I can make the car talk for children. And inside too, it can talk. I used to have a voice-activated computer system in there. That was great. It would answer you. I have to refresh the software and make it fresh again, and then it will talk. I have big plans for the car.
Boy, I have to say I really miss the old days.
Yes.
I guess I'm starting to sound old, but they just don't make television shows the way they used to, and you don't get that sort of family-friendly, hero-based programming that we used to have.
And it was so like charming, those old shows, and the new shows are, excuse me, but for me a little bit annoying. They are like it's like everybody's a nerve-wrack jumping around kind of shows for me. And the old shows were so easygoing and so like you could sit there and enjoy, relax, have a meal maybe while you watch them.
I feel sorry for kids today.
Yeah. And I look after kids for my job, and everything that they watch has to be so fast paced. And if it's a little bit slow, they're bored of it. I don't know why it is. I think it's all the electronics, or I don't know, all these beeping toys or something. I don't know.
Cell phones, internet.
Yeah.
Everything's just, flashing in front of them.
Yeah,
Information overload, right?
Yeah, it's way too much for me.
Yeah. Well,
and every time they see my car, they think it's the Batmobile. I say, no. Ask your parents what it is. They are going to tell you what it is.
You see, they just don't get the important information at school anymore.
Yeah, I know.
We talk about them not knowing their history. Well, they certainly don't know their pop culture, do they?
Yeah.
Well, I guess maybe we're just dating ourselves a bit, but
yeah,
I don't know. There's a certain magic in those 70s, 80s TV shows, I think, anyway.
I think it's all the electronics that they are so advanced now that it's really hard to provide something new to the people. Back then, like all the other cars and Kitt, that was like, wow, what is this even, a spaceship or what? Right?
But when the kids sit in the car,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it still, to me, looks high tech. It's sort of, I guess, retro digital, but it still looks to me like a spaceship.
I think it's the mystery of it, because the car has so many buttons and you never know what does what. So when the kids sit in the car, they start touching the button. I'm like, you never know what the car does. Maybe it's going to drive away with you. And they're like, oh, okay, please don't touch any buttons. Okay. And then they hold the steering wheel like this. They're so cute. I love them. But then they start talking about it. And then the parents say that, okay, we are going to show what it's all about. And then the kids get into it. And I have a few children who come to me and say that, oh my God, it's Kitt. My dad used to watch this and he showed it to me. I recognize the car. I'm like, I like you. Yeah. I don't know your name yet, but I like you.
And the show is still on television and can be viewed online. It's still out there.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. And it's still, I'm surprised that every few months we got a toy car in Walmart. Like they still have the little Hot Wheels come out with Knight Rider cars. And I was so surprised. Like half a year ago, I bought one. I'm like, wow, it's amazing.
So what is it about the show and the car that keeps it alive? And
I think David Hasselhoff is such an iconic actor that almost everybody knows him still. and he's still active in Germany and England doing other shows, but still he like everybody knows his name. And the car is still just looks cool. It's every time I drive it on the street, like Ferrari, Lamborghini drivers just look at me like, wow, nice. And I'm like, yours too, right? It's a totally different car, but we appreciate each other's vehicles. And I get that a lot at the car show, that it's pretty cool how you made it happen. And they say, well, thank you. It was a long dream. And I appreciate the car. I appreciate to be at the car shows and to meet all the people. I love meeting people. I studied tourism back in Hungary. So for me, meeting people is half the joy of being at a car show and talk to everybody. And I met so many people, and I still have everybody on Facebook, and we keep in touch, and it's amazing. Yeah.
Well, when I go to like a concours d'elegance, some people just buy their cars. They pay people to restore them. They put them on a trailer. They bring them into these high-end car shows.
Yeah.
And that's one sort of a thing, right? But I have a huge appreciation and massive respect for someone like yourself, who invests the time, invests part of your soul, your heart into restoring it and making it your own. I mean, you were involved in building that car, and it is part of you, and you drive it.
Yes.
It's not just a trailer queen. It's something you actually use. It's out on the road.
Yeah. And everybody says, why don't you just sell it and buy a house? It's perfect down payment. I'm like, no. Like, I would rather eat bread and water than sell this car. It's not a car. It's like a family member. And it's interesting because that's how I met the husband. He's from Germany, and he has a Night Rider replica in Germany. So we are in the middle of doing this sponsorship for him to move to Canada. He's here already, but when he gets his status, then he will bring his car too. And then we'll have two in the family. So they are like children to us. Yes.
Well, I think they even look better than the Camaros. They were, sister cars, but the lines of the Trans-am, the nose, the tail lights, to me, they looked more futuristic.
Yes. More sleek, I think. The Camaro is more aggressive looking, like I was born for the road. The Firebird is so nice, sleek and sporty and beautiful. Like even today, with all the other cars, when I drive on the road, it's so like, I don't know, it could be today's car. If it had a modern technology inside, I don't think I would be able to tell that it was from 30, 40 years ago.
Well, even so, with the coil springs in the back, evolving from the leaf springs to they brought in coil springs. The suspension was better. They handled great. They were just leaps and bounds technologically ahead of the previous generation of Firebird.
Yeah, and disc brakes and everything.
So I mean, they still hold up today. They drive great.
Yes, and for me in Hungary, back then we had, oh my gosh, like cars made out of paper with 40 horsepower. And then here, all the full air conditioning and power, everything. It was amazing for me to, when I bought the car, I didn't know what it had, half of it, right? Like for me, it looked like Kitt and that's it. And when I sat in and you turn on power mirrors, power windows, power this, power that was amazing. Like, how is it possible that it was so advanced here, right? Like, I had no idea. Then.
Well, I still think they stand up today.
Yes.
And having you in Ottawa for the Ottawa Gatineau International Auto Show was a huge treat. It was a big hit at the show. The kids loved it there. Yes. Just tell me about the experience there in Ottawa.
It was great from the start to finish. Everything was perfect. Everything, the venue is beautiful. It's at a perfect location. It's half the time I was out wandering in the city because that was my first time in Ottawa. I've never been. And the organizers were super nice and everything was very smooth and people were respectful. And I met so many people that I keep in touch with today still. like yourself.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
And yeah, I loved it. It was amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
the hotel was beautiful. Yeah.
It is a
great.
fantastic venue at the
Yes.
Shaw Center,
Yes.
attached right to the.
Yes, and there's lots of parking, lots of like I felt like it was central to everything, and everybody had a good time. There was zero stress. I didn't feel anything. Like it was just beautiful. The cars were amazing. I remember I was with the Batmobile and the Supernatural car. It was. Yeah. I made friends there too, so it was great. Yeah.
Well, we had to. The last show didn't happen because of COVID.
Yeah, COVID.
And that was tragic. And we are trying to get back to a regular auto show, a physical auto show again. This interview will be seen, though, on our virtual auto show platform, which is at ottawaautoshow.com. It will also be seen on the sstcarshow.com platform. But man, we have to get you back to the next physical auto show. We are working toward, I know that Peter, the show promoter, is working toward putting on a physical show again at the Shaw Center in March. So we have our fingers crossed. We're just hoping everything works out. And
I would love to attend, and I think Kitt would be a great addition to the show. And I can't wait to meet new people.
Yeah, and I do know this.
Yes.
The next show, the next physical show, I think it's going to be huge because there will be so many people just so eager to come.
Yeah, they can, like even myself, I can't wait to get out and do something, like anything, even just a bike ride, anything. Yeah. It has been way too long inside for everybody, I think.
Yes. Well, Aggie, I think we can wrap it up with that. And again, thank you so much for sharing the story with us. I hope that Kitt overcomes all the bumps and bruises and you get back on the road real soon.
Yes, thank you.
Because, summers are short here in Canada.
Yeah.
But I know that it's good to know that Kitt's on the mend and we have to get you back to Ottawa.
Yes, thank you. And I would love to join, and Kitt will be better than before, and I can't wait. So I hope it happens, and if it does, let's do it. I'm in.
All right.
All right. Thank you so much.
Okay, we'll be in touch. Take care.
Bye. Take care.